everyone. We are back for the next session. So for attendees who are live, you can now come back to your seat to listen to the next session. Welcome back for people who are joining us online. So our next session is with Amy Lynch. She's the founder of Mixing Babies with Business. So we're going to talk about remote work with kids. So in the last, couple years, people had to mix, working from home with their kids around and then trying to be able to continue doing their business with their kids around. So Amy Lynch, you can come on stage. In this session, she will share techniques and workflows that she's tested as a remote worker over the years, before and since becoming a parent in 2016. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining. She's also joining with her son here. What's her name? What's his name?
It's Devin, and he's 4 months old. Just a little over 4 months.
Awesome.
And he's asleep for now. So.
Yes. So have a good session.
Thank you, and thanks to the team at Running Remote for having me. So as Daphne mentioned, I'm founder of Mixing Babies and Business, and I'm a mom of 3. My other 2 kids are 6 and 4, and I've also become an accidental activist, coming into spaces like this with my kids since they were a few weeks old. Oh, the slides are going a bit wild there, but that's okay. And asking if the venue is accessible and is there a baby change table, and often the answer has been no and not here. So I've been doing that for the past 6 years, writing about it, speaking about it, and yeah, have become a bit of an activist. So I think we're a few slides ahead now. So I've also been working remotely for the last few years, and from before becoming a parent to becoming a parent, and some of the tools that I've used, although my views are different now, I'm at parks and playgrounds instead of cafes and co-working spaces, I still apply the same approaches and mindset. So like the folks at Mural were saying, it's about changing your behaviors and adopting some rituals. So these are some things that I'm hoping that you can either adopt if you're a parent, or you can look at how you're accommodating your team or how you can integrate it. Kids like to color outside the lines, and you have to do that with remote work with kids. And these 3 approaches, the best thing about them is they don't cost anything. You can start experimenting straight away. So like many innovators in business, they also like to move fast and break things. So you can get used to sharing your space if you haven't already over the past 2 years. Everything, with remote work, a lot of conventional advice is find a quiet area, make sure that you have good camera lighting, make sure that you have good quality audio. I work in high traffic areas on purpose. My kids need to be supervised at all times or someone's going to get hurt. So do what works for you, show up as you are, distractions and all. I've broken it into personal and professional areas so that you can experiment with things in your personal life, but also with your teams. So in terms of the first one, it's creating boundaries. If you're not already good at creating boundaries, kids will give you a good opportunity to practice them. And you might also want to do that if you share caregiving duties with someone in your house, or if you have a community support network, just communicating who is doing what and when, sharing that openly, and adapting it as you go. When I say protect your energy, I don't just mean your physical stamina, I mean your mental and emotional bandwidth as well. And from a professional perspective, look at what you can negotiate for. So can you ask for more asynchronous type work or tasks if your company isn't already doing that? How is your community or your company expecting you to communicate with them? So can you look at different response times? Can you clarify that with your team? Can you ask for different support? Can you block off different times of the day, like school drop-off and pickup, or when your kids are hangry in the morning, or dinner time? And what things can you opt out of? And negotiate as required. So when you're explaining your reality, this is what I'm dealing with, I really believe if you don't ask, you don't get. And I always try to ask for forgiveness instead of permission when it comes with remote work with kids, just like kids do as well. So another important thing to remember is being kind to yourself. With kids, they don't care if you're on snooze mode or unavailable. So you're going to want to just take every day as it comes and adjust as you need to. So all these photos in these slides are my real life and our home and how we spend our time. So you can just see how it is not a traditional working setup. The other thing I like to practice is blocking my time. With young kids, I don't feel like it's practical to really overschedule everything. So I like to look at morning, afternoon, and evening chunks or the week ahead and schedule in things that are non-negotiable, like personal appointments, or if you're trying to exercise, or if you've got to get something to keep your household moving, your time outdoors. When it comes to spending time with your kids, I really feel like quality over quantity is important so that you're not berating yourself all the time for, oh, I should be spending more time with them, or I should be doing it this way. Just look at being present with them when you are with them as much as you can. And from a professional point of view, I feel like if you're doing remote work with kids, a lot of the time you'll find someone wants to sit on your lap because they miss you, even though you're in the same building all the time. Or I don't know if that's me, or maybe it's a baby foot. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. So I don't know if you can still hear me. Is that good? Sorry if it sounded like I was really shouting at you there for a while. Now you know how I feel every day of my life. I really feel with young kids, especially with the short attention spans, I try to chunk things down into 15 or 30 minutes, even less with this guy. And I'm always working from a device instead of a desktop. So usually my phone or a laptop on a couch or a counter ledge like this photo shows. Kids are having screen time, but sometimes I'm, sitting on the back porch, they're playing in the backyard. So how can you block your time so that you're able to do those tasks that need to get done? And same with asynchronous versus synchronous. Can you group things by those areas and block those in? And I also like to track the time as I go, because you're always going to think things are going to take a certain amount of time, and kids are constantly causing you to reset that clock. And if you are waiting for deep work time, if you're able to share caregiving duties with someone in your household, I would say try to work on a swapping arrangement with them. If your kids are school age, or if your daycares are open, they haven't always been open, people haven't always been able to get spaces. But if you can plan your deep work and chunk it down for those times, then you'll be less likely to be interrupted. Otherwise, you'll be waiting a while, and you'll be waiting till your kids are asleep at night, or you're hiding in a closet. How you do one thing is how you do everything. I love this quote because it's about, you think of how you start your day is how you spend your day, how you spend your days, how you spend your week, how you spend your weeks, how you spend your years. Being intentional with how you start your day. So maybe not logging on straight away, doing something to refresh yourself, especially if you've been co-sleeping or your kids have been up multiple times in the night. You might want to just take a few minutes to do something, to try to do something small for yourself before you have everybody else's expectations put on you. To help with this, in addition to the blocking the time and the setting boundaries, I try to batch things. So from a personal perspective, you can see some ideas that I've outlined there, but I really try to combine things that make sense together. So if I want to exercise and the kids need to go outside X amount of times a day, I'm going to try to do that at the same time. In terms of video calls, a lot over the last 2 years, we were trying to do family catch-ups or friend catch-ups at the same time that we could also do something in the same vicinity as our kids. So we're supervising, but they're also getting some social interaction. Now that they are able to meet up with other people, it's a bit different. But again, you might want to schedule those things so that you can, I've seen parents working from libraries on their laptop or from a playground on their phone while they're pushing a kid on a swing. You just have to do what you have to do sometimes. In terms of a professional, that's me working from my car when my kids were asleep after driving around, and I had 30 minutes, they were asleep for a nap. I did some offline writing. But looking at organizing your priorities by business area, looking at responding to messages and emails, you're probably already doing this at certain times of the day, but really trying to separate those deep work and those tasks that don't require a lot of concentration that you can do on the fly. So as part of what I've been doing, I have been preparing resources for parents, including pop-up professional development, so business events that have children's play areas, and most recently a podcast, Mixing Babies and Business podcast. You can find it where you get most of your podcasts. I have some free resources for people. So this is a time blocking template that you can download, and it has 30 ideas for homework and self that you can experiment with. And I have just the 3 windows of time because I really don't feel like it's realistic to try to micromanage all of that. So you can download those for free. You can get the podcast. The website is there, mixingbabiesandbusiness.com/podcast. And I have 3 seasons where I've interviewed business leaders who are also parents, and all the episodes are under 20 minutes, so easy to consume. And lastly, I've done a remote work retreat over the last year a few times. I've run it live, and I now have it on demand, and I focus on mindset, routines, and processes. You can watch it or consume it in under an hour, and there's a workbook included. So whether you want to get that for the parents in your company or your network, or just experiment with it yourself, that's also available. So to recap, I really feel like if you can focus on setting those boundaries, blocking your time, and batching your tasks, and just experimenting with that. I know it sounds simple, but in real time, it's a lot more challenging when kids are disrupting you all the time. And as we go into the end of the second quarter, kids, what I'm thinking about anyways, is my kids have 6 weeks until they're on school holidays or summer break. And then your routine is going to change again. Or with young kids that are babies or toddlers, their routines are changing constantly. So kids really do give you a natural reset opportunity all the time to look at what's working in your business and what's not, or what's working with your home and life routines. And so you can look at that now, whether your time zone is the days are getting shorter or the days are getting longer. Just look at adapting that as best you can. So that's it for now. And I just want to thank you all for listening. And I hope that this helps you navigate remote work with kids. So if you have any questions, I do have some time for Q&A, or you can connect with me at the conference or online. I'm on LinkedIn if you want to send me a message after the fact. So thanks for listening, everyone. Woo. And he's awake now. So okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy. And if we have any question for you, you can go on the Slido app again. So please open your browser and go on the Slido, sli.do, and then enter RR22 for questions. Then you can go on the stage and see. You see your questions? No. Okay, so I have the question just in case here. So as question come up, this seat so far. Yes, we have one coming here. So what advice can employers give to newly remote team members with kids to help ease them into this potentially new to them balance?
Okay. I would say no advice, just how can I support you? And so less giving advice and more asking your colleagues or those in your company who are new parents, just what do you need? How can I support you? Because they might be worried that maybe they'll lose their job if they ask for too much, or they might be worried about taking parental leave and coming back and not being able to cope with their responsibilities. So I think asking first before giving advice is always important, especially since every child is different and every family is different.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions coming from the live audience? If you do, then you can add it. Can you... Yeah, okay, I think we have someone with a question, but it does not have access to Slido.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll bring the microphone to you, coming to you. Trying to be inclusive of the live audience.
You've any advice for dealing with when your kids are sick? Because I found that very challenging.
Yeah. So if you have another caregiver in the house, looking at that swapping off roster of is someone doing mornings or afternoons, communicating with your team, letting them know what you're dealing with. When it comes to the kids themselves, we just let them have what they want when they're sick because they don't feel very good. So that'll keep them happy. And really Like, your health is your wealth, your kids' health is their wealth. Like, you can, if you have to stop what you're doing for a day or a couple days, if your business is going to break, then it's probably a bigger problem.
I don't have any more questions, but I have a question myself, as I am a mom of 2 kids, small kids like this. Like, how do you stay, how do you keep your kind of professional branding or like your professional self a bit separated from your kids, like, or from your family? Like, this is a kind of a personal side and something you kind of want to keep as well, our professional side. You as yourself is kind of like you mix both together.
Yeah. So when we first moved back to Canada, I went into a corporate consulting company, and at the time I didn't have childcare. So I brought my oldest to the job interview with me, and he was 15 months old. So I would say, even though I was in a super corporate environment and they were helping scaling SMEs, they were fine with me bringing him. I explained the situation, and I still was able to do my role, and it was very corporate, I would say, hybrid environment. But yeah, I don't really separate them, because maybe it's because I was a remote freelancer before. I just always show up as I am, and I just feel like you hear people, I've heard people at the hotel this morning talking about their kids. You hear people asking, hey, how are the kids, when they're networking? So I don't think you have to separate them or keep them. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll come on stage, and thank you for this wonderful presentation today. Thank you, Amy.
Thank
a bit
you.
nice clap for Amy for this. Thank you so much
you.
for joining us.
Have fun.
And he woke up in the meantime.
Okay, I'll go
super
around this
happy.
way. Thanks.
Yes,
Thank
awesome. So thank you, everyone. We are done with the morning afternoon session. So we're gonna take a big break for 1 hour or maybe less for lunch. So please go enjoy and go meet our partners in the expo area. We have Insure Nomad that talked this morning, Mural and Oyster. So go connect with them. They've been super supportive. Thank you.